everyone, it's Justine, and today we're going to be taking a look at 5 different Halloween distress backgrounds that you can make for your cards. So we're going to start off with this first one, which is that sort of deep purple hazy sky look. And for this look I am using seedless preserves to start out with, and I'm just going to be going along the bottom. Now in my opinion, out of these 3 purples that I have on hand, this is the most Halloween-like looking. It's got that sort of light look to it. The Wilted Violet is more of a very vibrant, almost like a neon purple, and then the Dusty Concord is that vintage style purple. So mixing all 3 of these together is really nice, but they aren't exactly coordinating colors. They do coordinate with each other, they're all purple, but they're not exactly ones that blend together very well. As you can see here, I have the Wilted Violet, and you can see I'm doing a little bit of a technique that's different than normal. Normally I say light pressure, start off on the mat and work your way in. And that was the case when I was starting off with the seedless preserves, but I think there was a flaw in my sponge, and I started to get these sort of really spongy looks to it, almost as if I were pouncing on it. You can see it in that corner there. And I decided that that was the look I was going to continue. So what I decided to do was continue on with the card by ignoring all my usual distress rules and just kind of making this as rough looking as possible and not a very clean blend. And I think that in the end, this is the look sort of for that Halloween look that you can get that is really nice. And as you can see, for seedless preserves, I dominated that color throughout the card, and you can see all the flaws in it, and that is absolutely fabulous. Now I'm going to show you all of these and the colors that I'm using, and then I'm going to decorate them all at the end all together, because that's the order how I created the cards. For this one here, it's a little bit different. I had masked off an area and then I put a stencil over top of it. I started off with Wilted Violet and I went in with Picked Raspberry, and as you can see I have 2 sponges here and I'm alternating back and forth. I'm going back in with the Wilted Violet, and then once I'm finished with the bottom color I switch my sponge, and I just wanted to see here if the mustard seed would blend with the olive, and it does really well, but it doesn't blend well with the Picked Raspberry. So I wanted to start off with the mustard seed after the Picked Raspberry, and you can see it creates this really fun orange color when you're blending it. And then lastly I finished off with the crushed olive, which is just slightly darker than the mustard seed and has more of a green tinge to it. And when I reveal the background and take off the masking tape, you can see just how nice it looks. But I wanted to wash my hands before I took that off, and so I just washed my hands, dried them and everything like that, so I wouldn't get anything on my white background. That's always such a turn off when you finish the card and then all of a sudden you get a nice fingerprint of ink on it. So I just didn't want that to happen. And as you can see, this is really awesome mask look with a stencil over top. For the next card, I used 4 different colors. The gathered twigs I mainly used just on the outside, and I continued on in the inside with Wild Honey, as well as 2 other orangey colors, and they were dried marigold and spice marmalade, I believe I used. So I started off with the yellow color and the wild honey, and then I went in with the dried marigold. And I wasn't exactly happy with the dried marigold in this card. It was a little bit light on the lighter side and very subtle orange. And so I think going in afterwards with the spice marmalade was definitely the right choice, just to really bring out those oranges in the card. And for this one, I'm trying a little bit harder to blend nicely. So again, I'm not using any pressure in my hand. I'm using a circular motion with my hand, and I'm starting on the mat and working my way in. This is going to get me a lot smoother background, and that's a little bit different than the first card that I created. So I'm just continuing to blend now. You can see I'm adding the spiced marmalade, which is really darkening up that orangey color. And I really wanted to create the oranges more towards the side, and then have the yellow wild honey go into the middle and really brighten up the card. And this can be used, this background as well, not just for Halloween, but also for fall cards. This is a really nice look. These colors can be arranged to also make a sunset or a sunrise pattern. And these are really just nice colors that I like to work with on a regular basis. So as you can see, I've lightened up the middle, but left almost a little bit more of a white space. And then I just went in with the gathered twigs to darken up the edges, just to give it a more finished look. For my next card, you've actually already seen this card. I did this video this week, but I wanted to add it into this video for those who may not have seen it. And it's also one of those distress Halloween backgrounds that I really like, so I didn't want to make it not a part of this video. So I'm going to go through it really quickly. So this is for blending not colors that don't blend too well together. So you can see I'm really taking my time with this one to really build up that wilted violet color and just slowly going up to the top, really darkening it up. When that was all finished, I wanted to go in with carved pumpkin, so I washed off my craft mat and I went in with the carved pumpkin, but the actual orange color doesn't blend with the violet very well, so I tried to avoid going right against the next color at first. I deepened the color in the card first without touching the purple, and then I slowly went in and added a very small layer into the violet, which will make them blend a little bit without making it too muddy by adding a ton of color. The last color I added was the crushed olive, and that blends really well with the carved pumpkin, so I could go in with both of those colors. Then I was able to remove the mask and then have my background here. For the next background, I'm going to be using squeezed lemonade, fossilized amber, spiced marmalade, and ripe persimmon. And I'm going to be using this stencil from Tim Holtz. It's got the trees on there, and I think it's really, really nice, but I needed to center it on my card first. And because I'm going to be inking my whole background, I don't have any tape on the card base itself, so I'm holding the card base down with my hands, and that was probably the easiest thing. Now, I had started off with a few different colors and changed my mind throughout. So as you can see, the rusty hinge is in the photo, but I decided, or in the video, but I decided against it. I'm starting off with squeezed lemonade, and I decided to put the squeezed lemonade over the entire background. I really wanted that yellow to really just shine through, and I wanted all the colors to interact well with that yellow color. And all of them coordinate really well with the yellow and blend with the yellow, so it's really no problem to just cover your background. I did want the center to be a little bit lighter than the edges, the top and the bottom though, so I kind of didn't put a lot of ink in the center. Next up, I moved on to some of the spiced marmalade or the fossilized amber rather, and I just added and darkened up some of the areas on the card just to make it look more of a shadow and more realistic, as if the sun were shining through the forest, you'd have dark and light colors. Then I went in with the spiced marmalade and darkened up some more of the areas, and then I went in with the ripe persimmon on the bottom of the card to create sort of a sunrise look, or a sunset, not really sure which one. Anyway, regardless, and then I just went in back in with that yellow and just blended all of those colors nicely out in order to make them all sort of blend together and just give it more of a finishing touch. When I remove the mask, you can see, or the stencil, you can see how awesome that looks. I'm going to be decorating these stamps all with So Susie stamps. I really wanted to use sentiments and really solid images. So I have my choices between, this is the entire Halloween release for this year, the Trick or Treat, Have a Frightfully Spooky Halloween, Eat, Drink, and Be Scary, When Witches Go Riding and Black Cats Are Seen, The Moon Laughs and Whispers, It's Halloween, On Halloween You Must Beware, for Frightful Things Are Everywhere, The Spirits Roam the Neighborhoods at Night, We Loose Upon the Earth Till It Be Light, There Are Nights When the Wolves Are Silent and Only the Moon Howls, Happy Haunting, Fear Has Many Eyes, Shadows of 1,000 Years Rise Again Unseen, Voices Whisper in the Trees, Tonight is Halloween, Something Wicked This Way, The 31st, Beware, and then we have some really cool images, some of these little demons and sorceresses, and really solid images that really pair well with the distressed, colorful backgrounds. You don't want your backgrounds to lose their interest by having really intricate stamps, so I really like this idea. This treat is sold out, so sign up for email notifications if you're interested in getting that one, but all the rest are still available. I'm going to be stamping the Trick or Treat stamp first on this background here. I think it's a really very subtle, and I like the look of it. You can see I've stamped it twice with my Misty just to really darken up that black sentiment. Next up is the purple background. I'm going to be using the Beware and the Sorceress stamp. These solid stamps I really also like to stamp twice just to really get that solid black look, but as you can see, even if you don't have a Misty, stamping once is actually just perfectly fine. The black just makes it a little bit more bold on that dark background. For the third card, I'm going to be stamping this really large sentiment here, The Shadows of 1,000 Years Rise Again Unseen, Voices Whisper in the Trees, Tonight is Halloween. And as a second thought or an afterthought, I decided to add one of the little demons above it. I thought that added some interest and made the card look a little less plain. And I really like the way that that looked. I think this almost looks like an old book or an old page of maybe a witch's book or something like that. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Hocus Pocus, the color. I don't know why, but it does. So I just stamped this little demon up at the top, and I think it looks really great. For the fourth card, I decided to use, this is on the tree background stenciled one. The Fear Has Many Eyes, and I'm going to be adding some eye embellishments throughout the trees. And I'm going to stamp that in black as well. And for my last card, this is the one that, again, I've already done the video for, but I thought I would show you anyway. I'm going to be stamping the tree, as well as the Eat, Drink, and Be Scary. Now I'm just going to add all of these cards onto some card bases. They measure 11 by 4 1/4 and are folded in half at 5 1/2 inches. I'm just going to add all of these bases onto a white background. You could also put them on black backgrounds, it just depends, but I did want them to be a little bit on the brighter and more cheerful, fun side of Halloween, and you can see all 5 of them here. So I'm going to finalize these with the embellishments, so I decided to add some little eyes for the trees, for the Fear Has Many Eyes. I decided to add some Nuvo drops in purple as well as pink in the glitter for the Trick or Treat card. And again, I'll have all the supplies listed below in the video description or on my blog. I think these Nuvo drops are just perfect for adding embellishments to any card. I've been using them tons lately, and I just invested in a whole bunch of new colors, and I really absolutely love them. It's just a matter of right now going in, picking a color, and going. I'm using orange, purple, and green for this one here, and all of them are different. One's shimmer, one's metallic, and one's sort of a matte look. And then for the Beware, I'm using also the Nuvo drops in 2 different colors. I decided to use a silver and a gold for this one. They don't show up too well on this background, it is quite dark, so you might want to add some white ones. So here's a final look at all of the cards. I think they all turned out really great with their distressed backgrounds, and I hope you have some ideas and inspiration to create some backgrounds of your own. If you want to click on the subscribe button, you just click on my photo there. You can watch my playlist on my 13 Days of Halloween from last year, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching.